What do you do when you're stuck home with your kids? Well, me, I meal prep. Hey guys, Kira here from 50 Shades of Mom, tips for all shades of mom life. And in today's video, I am back for another epic meal prep. So this meal prep is a little unconventional to what I normally do because my normal every 2-week routine is definitely off kilter. With my kids being home, we're not doing lunches the same, we're not doing meals and snacks and dinners. Everything just seems to be different than it normally is. So I kind of altered my meal prep this week, but I did get a chance to show you guys a bunch of new things that I have yet to show you, since again it is not my normal routine. So I'm going to take you down to the counter and I'll show you what I've been prepping over the last 2 weeks. Okay, you guys, so we are back for another week of meal prep. And basically how I'm going to take you along this week's meal prep is how I did it over the course of 2 weeks. This was not all filmed in one day, and this wasn't filmed in 2 separate sittings over the weekends the way I normally do. I just did not have time with everything going on. And so basically the point of me sharing this the way I'm sharing it this particular time is that you don't have to be a stay-at-home mom. You don't have to do all of your meal prep all over the weekends. You can take a little bit of time each day while you're in the kitchen prepping dinner, or 15 minutes before bed to set something up so that you could be better prepared for the weeks ahead. And when I know I've put out a meal prep video, I know the next thing that I have to do is set up my dog's food. So I always make my dog's food in the crock pot. I do that once every 2 weeks. And I started with 3 to 4 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts in the crock pot with no fluid, nothing but a little bit of corn and broccoli. And I let that cook for about 5.5 hours, and it shreds out perfectly. And I mix it with rice that I make in my pressure cooker. So I put 2 cups of brown rice in my cassourie, and I hit the brown rice button. And once it comes to pressure and it cooks, I let it sit for about 15 to 18 minutes and naturally release. In that time, my chicken was done, and so I shredded it and got that ready. And once all the pressure was out and I opened it up, I knew that my rice was set and good to go. So I usually fluff my rice with butter and salt, just give the rice a little bit of flavor before I mix it into the chicken. But a bunch of you guys made some amazing suggestions, and someone mentioned about using coconut oil, and then I heard pumpkin, and so I went and did some research. I spoke to Vanessa and she did some research, and so what you guys are going to see in the next meal prep video is how I've changed this up a little bit. So the next time I didn't add butter and salt, I added coconut oil right to the rice and mixed that all in, and then I threw the rice in like I normally do with the chicken, and then I added 1 can of pumpkin and 2 cans of green beans undrained and mixed that all together, and it has been such a hit for my dogs. They absolutely love the difference in flavor. I think they enjoy the new textures. This is like a very plain texture for them. I think that adding the pumpkin and the coconut oil kind of gave it like a whole different mouth feel for them, plus the green beans was like another additional texture. And I also think I'm going to throw in some cauliflower next time as well. It's amazing the vegetables I've been able to get in my dogs that they wouldn't normally eat, that they're eating while we're doing it this way. So once that I am done mixing everything together, I usually leave 1 bowl in the fridge that I work out with throughout the week. A bunch of you ask how many times a day I feed my dogs. I actually feed them just once a day. It's worked out better for them and for their health to not eat twice a day. Sometimes if I give it to them twice a day, they don't finish their meal before, and then I've seen them fight over the leftovers in the bowl. So it's worked out better for us to just feed them once a day, but I give them 1 heaping scoop of this mixture and then 1 heaping cup of dry food. And that seems to keep my dogs more than content. I have big dogs and they're perfectly happy and fine with what I've given them. I even included some footage this time of my dogs eating. They were waiting to eat. They have been smelling that goodness all day, and they were waiting for mom to finish filming so that they can finally eat. So I figured I would show you how happy that my dogs are. This is Ruby. She's my biggest one. She's my beast. She usually just vacuum cleaners the bowl. So she's usually done first, but Dottie enjoyed it too. They both absolutely love it, and they're so grateful for what I make them. So like I said, I usually have a bowl that I work out of the fridge with, and then the rest of it goes in a gallon Ziploc freezer bag. I make sure to freeze it flat. I throw it in the freezer, and then I am good to go. So that's usually how I start off my meal prep with my dog food that I make. But now, you guys, we're going to dabble into making some of our own French vanilla creamer. So this is something that I started doing a couple of weeks ago, and we really enjoyed it, although I feel like our consumption of creamer is too much for what you need. But you need to start off with sweetened condensed milk, and some of you suggested I can make a more low carb version. So that's what we're actually going to do right now. We're going to make the sweetened condensed milk that we need to make the French vanilla creamer. So for starters, you're going to need 2.5 cups of heavy cream and then 1 tablespoon of butter. So we're going to throw the tablespoon of butter into a saucepan on the stove, and once that starts to melt down, then we'll add our 2.5 cups of the heavy cream, and then we're going to whisk in some confectionery sugar. I'm actually using the one from Swerve, which is going to make this more of that low carb condensed milk. And then once you whisk that all together, you're just going to let that reduce down until you get this very thick and bubbly glaze. It did take some time. I want to say like a good 30 to 45 minutes watching it on a really slow roll to get down to that really thick consistency that I wanted. But once it's done reducing down, it needs to cool first before we can go ahead and make that creamer. So I took that opportunity to throw my bacon in. I always prep 1 pound of bacon once a week, whether we use it for breakfast, for dinner, whether I need it for a recipe, or we just use it for other things throughout the week, sandwiches and things like that. I always like to have some of that in a Tupperware. And so now that our sweetened condensed milk is all ready to go and it is cooled and where we need it to be, we're going to go ahead and add some pure vanilla. Once you add the pure vanilla to that mixture that we made, that is your low carb sweetened condensed milk. So if a recipe calls for sweetened condensed milk and you don't have any, but you have heavy cream and confectionery sugar in the house, you can make what we just made and have sweetened condensed milk. But now we're going to go ahead and actually make the creamer. So we're going to end up going back and adding more vanilla to our mixture later, but I wanted to be able to show you guys the vanilla added here so that you know if you wanted to make some kind of sweetened condensed milk that you could make it this way and just stop. And then now we're just going to pour it into a 2-quart container. You can get any of these containers anywhere. I have a bunch of them from the Dollar Tree, and I use so many of them just because I make dressings and we make lemonades and Kool-Aids and now our own creamer. So we are forever using these. But once you get all of your condensed milk into the bottom of the quart, now you're going to add 2 cups of regular milk. I use 2% because that's what we use inside of our house, but you can use whole milk or whatever you like. And then you're going to add your flavoring. So again, I'm making French vanilla creamer, so I used vanilla extract. But if you want to make a almond creamer, if you want to make a pumpkin spice creamer, a peppermint mocha, really anything, this is going to be where you would change the flavor. Up until this point right now, we just have a sweetened creamer. I know even Dunkin' Donuts has a creamer that's just like extra sweet and creamy. That's pretty much what we just made. But now you can be versatile and add whatever you like and be able to play with this on your own. But now our bacon is done, and I love myself some crispy bacon, and I love the way the house smells after bacon is cooking. If there was a bacon candle, I would light one because it just smells so amazing in my house. And so I just transferred that to a paper towel so that it could drip dry and be ready for me to transfer into a container. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love saving my bacon grease. I always have a little container somewhere in my refrigerator filled with bacon grease that I use at the bottom of my eggs and all sorts of things. Even when I'm making sauce, a pot of sauce, I'll throw some bacon grease in the bottom, and it is absolutely amazing. Okay, so on to my ranch dressing. You guys ask all the time how I make my homemade ranch, and it's pretty simple. I follow the directions on the back of the Hidden Valley Ranch packet mix, except I use buttermilk. It usually just suggests to use regular milk, but I feel like the buttermilk changes everything, especially since it's buttermilk ranch seasoning that we're using. It's very, very simple. I dump the container of the buttermilk into my pitcher, and then I add some mayo, and I'll continue to keep stirring dressing when I first add in a little bit of mayo to check my consistency. Everybody loves their dressings different. Some people love a really thick globed on dressing, and some people prefer more of a thinner dressing like a vinaigrette. So you really could play this upon how it works for you. Once I start adding the mayo and I start stirring, then you'll see that I go back and I add a little bit more because I can tell that it's still a little bit too thin. And then once I get a good consistency of the buttermilk to mayo ratio, then I just add in that Hidden Valley powder. I buy the big container of it, not the packets anymore, and I add to the flavor to what we like. Some people like it more ranchy, maybe you like it more on the lighter side. So by you making it yourself, you kind of get an opportunity to play with the flavor. But it's those three simple ingredients and that's it. And it holds for about 2 weeks. I mean, that's about how long it takes for us to go through it anyways, but it holds for about 2 weeks, which is perfect because in my rotation of meal prep, I usually just make another batch of it. It literally takes 5 minutes, which is why I said you don't have to do everything in one day. Making a thing of dressing before bed one night would really just be helpful in knowing that you already have that set and in the fridge and ready to go. So this was the end of day one for me and all that I got accomplished, and everything else was sporadic things over the next week because I also made a pot of sauce this day. Now I didn't show any clips of me making that sauce because I have not one but 2 videos on this, a really old one and then a remake that I did. So I'll link that up above for you guys, but that was just the sauce that I made and my bacon, and that was it. I put my Tupperwares away, I shut off the light, and that was it for my day of meal prep that day. And now we're on to another dressing, and this was one I was really excited to share because this is Dat Keto Lady's blue cheese dressing. And I've been hearing Nicole Burgess talk about this dressing for so long, and I just could not wait to make it. And you guys, let me just say this right now, if you like blue cheese dressing, then keep on watching because this was so simple and so absolutely delicious. And I also have a can of olives here. I don't get to it this day. I didn't do it for days later, but I want to stuff the blue cheese in the olives. And I ended up switching up my idea over the course of the next couple of days. You'll see that I ended up changing what I decided to do, but I have my olives there for what I wanted to do. And then for the dressing for the blue cheese, you need crumbled blue cheese, some Worcestershire, however the hell you say that sauce. I need mayo, some sour cream. You're going to need some lemon, some salt and pepper. And then I actually have this blue ball jar, which I thought was perfect. Last year for Christmas, my mother-in-law got me a bunch of different ball jars, and she got me a 4-pack of these blue ones. I thought that was perfect for being able to identify in the refrigerator that that was blue cheese dressing. But just like any dressing, it's pretty much just mixing all of these ingredients together. And I doubled the recipe and it filled the ball jar to the very, very, very top. So if you think that you wouldn't want that much, then I wouldn't make it. But for me, I can eat veggies and blue cheese dressing all day long. And I really wanted it most of all for wings. I have just been craving wings and they come out so bomb in my air fryer. So this was like something I just couldn't wait to make. So you're supposed to use 1 cup of mayo, but like I said, I doubled it. So there's 2 cups of mayo in there, and then you're supposed to add a 1/2 cup of sour cream. So I added 1 cup, and then you're supposed to do a 1/2 cup of blue cheese. So I did a little bit over 1 cup because I really love blue cheese and nobody else really eats it in the house but me. So I knew this was going to be something that was specifically for me. And then now we're just going to add in the Worcestershire sauce, the lemon juice, and the salt and pepper. It actually called for a fair amount of black pepper, especially since I was doubling it. So when I first put it in the bowl, I was like, whoa, pepper. But you don't taste it like that, and it does come out amazing. One thing I forgot to show you guys pictured in the beginning was the recipe also called for garlic powder. So I threw in a tablespoon of that, and then I put in 2 of the teaspoons of the Worcestershire, gosh, I can't say that word, sauce, and then I put in 2 tablespoons of the lemon juice. What a difference that lemon juice made. You can taste it. It creates such vibrance to this dressing, like OMG, you guys. Look how simple that was. A few seasonings, sour cream, mayo, blue cheese, and lemon juice, and Worcestershire sauce, and you mix it all together, and poof, you have an amazing blue cheese dressing. So later on in the week, I needed to shred my cheese. I had a few blocks that I got from Costco that needed shredding, and thanks to Nicole Burgess and letting me know all about the potato starch in already shredded cheeses, I've been doing it this way, and it's been life-changing for me. We all love the flavor, and we prefer it being shredded from the block, and the food processor takes all the effort away from you. So I did my regular Colby in normal shreds, and then I did my cheddar in some really thick pieces, which really turned out to be amazing because some of it shredded a little bit finer, which I've been using for different kinds of recipes, and then those thick pieces I've been using for like toppings on sandwiches and stuff. So we really liked the way that I shredded that, and I kind of liked to play with it. This working with a food processor is all new to me, so you can see that mozzarella, I made that really fine because we're using that for melting like on top of pizza. So by me using the different settings on my food processor, I was able to get our cheeses all different consistencies, which really worked out perfect for us as far as melting and what we're using it for. Now, next up is actually roasting some vegetables. So I got some butternut squash from Trader Joe's, and I really wanted to roast it. There was an every plate meal that I made with roasting butternut squash, and I couldn't believe how much when I roasted it that it tasted like sweet potato. Roasting it just brings all this natural sweetness out of your vegetables, and so I figured I was going to make myself a little veggie roasting bowl in the refrigerator, and I figured I could just use that as a quick side dish for any of my meals that I was having with the boys where they were doing something more carby that I couldn't have. And so I also added a little bit of broccoli and cauliflower mix that I had left over in the refrigerator, a fresh mix, and then I added some olive oil and salt and pepper, and then I roasted it in the oven at 450 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. And you guys, I really am truly sorry that I haven't been doing this sooner because I could eat these kind of flavored roasted vegetables all day. And now I want to share with you a recipe that my husband shared with me. And although it might look a little bit strange, these are the ingredients that we're going to use to make some tuna fish. I go back and season with a little bit of garlic powder and pepper later. No salt because we're adding mayo. I never add salt when I add mayo. It's salty on its own, but this is all that we're going to need. So I know it sounds strange, but first let's get our veggies ready. And then once our vegetables are all diced and ready to go, we're literally just going to assemble these things. Now, again, I know it probably seems a little strange to put some green apple into your tuna, but do not knock it until you try it. I did cut a little bit more red onion than I needed, and if I would have made 2 cans of tuna, that red onion would have been fine, but I only ended up using like maybe 3 tablespoons of red onion, but I did use at least a third of a green apple diced. I made sure to get my tuna really chopped down fine. My husband doesn't like big chunks of tuna in there. He really likes it shredded down really well. And please make sure that you use a bowl large enough for mixing. I don't know what I was thinking when I thought that this small bowl would be enough room for me to mix all of these ingredients together. But once you have enough space to mix everything, you're going to mix your tuna, your red onion, and your green apple along with some mayo. You do mayo to your desired consistency. Again, some people might like a drier mayo. I happen to like a really wet mayo. I love mayonnaise. I use it often, and I like a lot of mayo in our salads, and we all do. So that's what I put in. You guys are going to have to play to what works best for you guys, but that's it. I sprinkled a little bit of garlic powder and some pepper, threw a lid on it, and threw it in the refrigerator. We like our salads really cold out of the fridge. We never eat them when I first make them. We like them refrigerated, and then we ate on it for lunches for 2 separate days. But again, you guys, don't knock this until you try it. I promise you, it seems a little bizarre, but that apple adds a tartness because green apples are not sweet. It adds a tart and a crunch, and it's really just a unbelievable combination. My husband learned this when he worked at the country club. This is one of the things that they taught him that they already made and had on the menu. It's the way that they made their tuna prior to him working there, and they taught him how to make it. And then ever since then, that's how he liked his tuna, and he taught me how to make it. And honestly, you guys, I absolutely love it. I finally got a chance to get to those olives, And I was glad that I waited because I came up with a brainstorm. So originally I was going to stuff it with the blue cheese, and then I was like, you know what? I really just didn't want plain old blue cheese stuffed olives. So I put about 2 ounces of cream cheese into a bowl and let it get soft. And then I have this Hidden Valley Ranch Fiesta dip packet. I didn't want to use the whole thing and just that little bit, so I end up just sprinkling a little bit and then that blue cheese. So I really wanted to make some kind of zesty cream cheese, blue cheesy kind of mix to go inside of the olives. So since the cream cheese was good and soft, I just kind of smeared it around. And then, like I said, I only added maybe a tablespoon of powder out of that packet. And then I just gave that a good stir, and then I worked in that blue cheese. And once I had this really yummy, like zesty blue cheese mixture, then we're gonna start by putting it into the olives. Now, I will say that it's a little tricky to put stuff into olives. It gets messy. I had it all over my hands. I used a butter knife and did my best to just kind of keep layering it and pushing it down into the whole of the olive until it filled the olive up. But it definitely was a little tedious and time consuming. It took me about 15 minutes to do this whole can of olives, and I'm super neurotic, you guys. I did go back and use a wet napkin and wipe all around the edges of the olives so that the olives weren't so full of my fingerprints full of this cream cheese mixture, because I didn't want my hands to get dirty when I went in later to eat them. But then I just put them in a Tupperware, and I've been munching on them all week. I still have a couple left. Olives hold for a while, so does cream cheese and blue cheese. All these things just have some longevity, so this was perfect for me to have a snack that I could just grab whenever I open up the fridge and I have a desire to eat on something. And now we are going to close with one of the things besides my ranch dressing that you guys asked for the most, is how do I make popcorn in a brown paper bag? You guys, it is literally this simple, and I discovered this trick and now I'll never go back. So I just have a brown paper bag right here, and then I have some popcorn salt that I've had forever because you just use a pinch. And then here are the popcorn kernels I've been buying for Walmart. They're non-GMO. They're $1.98. Usually I can get them from the Dollar Tree, but I haven't found them. And then I just have some butter here and my measuring scoop. And that really is it. It is simple and easy. So we're just going to open up the bag, and then inside of the bag, we're going to dump in a heaping third of a cup of those kernels. I make sure I do a heaping because, you know, some don't pop open, and so I do a little bit of a heaping cup so we can get a good full bag. And then you're going to fold over the bag as tight as you can. I make sure to seal it really tight every time that I fold. You don't want the force of the popcorn popping inside of the bag to open up your little satchel that you're making, because it's not sealed and you still want some kind of airflow, so you don't want to tape it closed or anything like that. And then we're just going to put it in the microwave. My microwave has a popcorn button, and it shows that it's a 3.5 popcorn bag setting automatically. So if your microwave has a popcorn setting, just hit that. If not, about 2.5 minutes is perfect timing. And then when you guys open up the microwave, this is what we get, a bag full of popcorn. From this point on, you guys can do whatever it is that you like. If you like extra salty popcorn, if you like truly buttered popcorn, do you like to add cheese? Some people add spices. A lot of people talk about that chili lime from Trader Joe's going on some popcorn. We're just a butter and salt kind of family. And so I usually just melt about a tablespoon, sometimes 2, depending on how much popcorn that we have, into a ramekin. And then once it comes out, I pour it right onto the popcorn, and I give the popcorn a really good shake, and then I add a little sprinkle of that popcorn salt, and I give it another toss, and then I add a little bit more of that popcorn salt and toss it just one more time, and then that's it. The kids are ready to eat. This also concludes another epic meal prep video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. I'll make sure to be back with another one in just 2 weeks with more things to share. And we did cover some new things this week. We made a new dressing. We played with those olives. We made a new tuna, and I finally got another chance to show you guys how to make that popcorn. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I love you guys all so much. Make sure that you're subscribed if you're not, so you don't miss any future uploads from me, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.